Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I'm also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, I want to talk about why I feel like men are misunderstood. And I want you to understand that this is not a one size fits all. Take everything I say with a grain of salt and that everybody's different. I'm just talking about collectively as perhaps something that we can engage in a conversation about. That overall, I feel that the idea of men and the concept of masculinity and how men are treated. I think for a long time, men have been misunderstood. And I do think it's getting better. I think it could be a lot better. And that's kind of the aim of this video. I'm not picking on men, I'm not picking on women, I'm just sharing something. And I think it's important. But why men are misunderstood. This is the topic today, okay? So the first one, and I think is the reason why for a very long time men have been misunderstood. And there's a lot of reasons why this occurs. I think men suffer more in silence, and then women tend to suffer out loud. And I think some women suffer in silence, and then some men suffer out loud. So I'm not saying every single case, but I see like the vast majority of men, or a good majority of men, when they suffer, they're quiet or to themselves, or they kind of just don't talk about it. And then women, they talk about it and they kind of broadcast it. They're very community based, and that's good. But I also feel that this is where the issue is. Men are isolated, they're not very community based, or they are naturally, but they don't have that space. And then women, they tend to have that space and they can broadcast it, and people don't necessarily put them down as often about some of these things. Again, not all the time. And I think that's where the main thing is. So let's say, for example, let's talk about people who have been abused. Both men and women are abused. It's not a competition, right? Like this is like a touchy and sensitive topic. I don't think we need to talk about who gets abused more, who's the abuser. Like, it's victims versus people who are like engaging in DV. Like, it doesn't matter, I think. I could be wrong. But the reality is that some men, let's say their wife hits them continuously. That is abuse, right? That's domestic violence. But he might not say anything. He might not say anything because people won't believe him. She might flip it on him and now he's going to be blamed. He just might feel embarrassed. He might not want to break up his family, and he feels like, okay, I can handle it. So he's suffering in silence. So this is just an example, right? Whereas a woman, she's suffering out loud. She's telling everybody she's hurt. She's trying to run away. She's texting her mom. She's telling her father, her brother, her best friend. And then once it's over, maybe she's telling everybody how, manipulative this person was. And I'm not saying it's wrong or right, but I am saying these are two very different methods. And he's misunderstood. He's silenced. No one knows what he's going through. And it's sad. It's not fair. And he feels kind of trapped in this scenario, in this situation. And so obviously that was an extreme example, but we can say anything like bullying, okay? Bullying. Maybe women are like, oh, this girl's jealous of me. She's bullying me. She's hurting me. And we hear that a lot. Women are like jealous and catty. But I've made a lot of videos on this because I feel like it is a very undertouched topic. Men have bullying and jealousy and envy all the time. A lot of the time, but they just don't talk about it. They're not even taught about it. So they think, oh, this guy just hates me, or this guy's not giving me a promotion for whatever reason. When in actuality, it's probably because he's afraid that you'll one-up him at some point. Maybe you're younger. Maybe you're more athletic. Maybe you're more charismatic. It's not that you're younger, but you're more achieving. There's a lot of things. But men just aren't taught that. Women understand that dynamic, but it's the same thing. But again, men suffer in silence. Women are saying it out loud. So they teach other women, they talk about it. Men understand this dynamic, but women have no clue what's happening with men, and men have no clue what's happening with men. I don't want to touch on that point too long because I took a long time because I feel like that's a main reason. That's why I took so long on it. But okay. So let's talk about our community. It's a subscription-based community, and it's for general mental health. We're going to talk about mental health. We're going to talk about research. I'm probably going to put prompts on there, worksheets, and some of the prompts are going to be video format, just like me sharing the prompts. Another time it might be typed. I also might share like some blog posts or some writing that I've been doing that is research, and there's going to be reference pages. I might also show like portions of research papers and things like that. And then we can discuss about things like that. We can talk about emotional skills, regulation, coping. We can talk about hypothetical case studies, but of course, this is not therapy. It's also not school. It's just like psychoeducation. It's just informational purposes. We're not going to diagnose anyone, but we can talk about like potential case studies, things like that. We can talk about interpersonal dynamics. And so I really wanted a space for mental health. So that's the community that we have. That is pinned in the comments. It is priced at $10. a month. And I want it to be something that, it has a paywall so that not everyone has access to it, so that the community stays, I guess, more specific to those who actually have interest in this stuff. But I also want it to be accessible to most people. So that's why I chose that price range. And hopefully you guys will enjoy it. And yeah, I'll also share things about myself and you guys can share as well. And so I'll see you there. The next one is at an early age, men are often taught to suppress feelings. And so they often don't communicate or even understand what they need as an adult. They're not really sure. They're suppressing their feelings. They haven't been taught to communicate these feelings. I have some patients where I will ask them, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've been working with some of these patients for a while, where I might say, "How are you feeling?" And just a simple question, how are you? Like in the beginning of the session, typically I say, how are you? How's your day? How was your week? Just to kind of get things warmed up. And they might pause and think for a while. And, some of them might take like a minute or two, sometimes longer. And then they say, I don't know. Like after all of that time thinking, his answer is, I don't know. He can't even say it's good or it's bad. He just thinks and thinks, I don't know, or I haven't thought about it. And it's not that he's not engaging in the session, not at all. You don't know, some of these patients I've been working with since I've been an intern. And I know that that's not what it is. And by the way, so much better improvement, because before, maybe they would just shrug, right? Now, even saying, I don't know, or I'm not sure is already a step. And, it's a safe space. I'm not pushing, right? I'm not pushing. And eventually with a little more prompting, it can be more accessible towards his feelings. But often these folks are, they're taught that what they feel, they don't take inventory of their feelings. They just go through the day, wake up, eat, sleep, and whatever it is, they kind of do that. But what I've noticed about those particular patients, they have they have severe depression and anxiety, a lot of anxiety. Actually, their thoughts are so tangled. That's part of the reason why they don't have anything to say, because they're actually so anxious and so suppressed, so uncomfortable. And then on top of that, they feel so low about the day to day. They're lacking direction, not because they're not doing anything. A lot of these men are actually doing a lot of stuff. It's just they don't feel connected to it. And so I see that a lot. I'm probably going to have to make a separate video on that, and it will be more clinical, because that's a whole topic in of itself. The next one is due to his silence. This one's so important as well. Due to his silence, folks make incorrect assumptions about him that's not even true. When he defends himself, people use that reaction to justify that their assumptions are correct. Let's just say we have a gentleman, he's quiet. He's to himself. Let's talk about a career situation. The quiet guy who doesn't bother anybody, but he's not really socially engaged. And maybe someone says, oh, he's stuck up, or he's selfish, or he's mean, or he's arrogant. And he's like, no, I'm not arrogant. I'm actually really nice. Why would you even say that about me? And they're like, that's proof. He's reactive. He's judging all of us. And he just was defending himself, but he didn't get a chance. And now people have a worse assumption of him. And now he's just like, okay, I give up, right? What can he do at this point? And his people are judging him. Whereas perhaps if he was a different type of person, or if he was not a man, that assumption might have not been so strategically placed on him. Whether people realize it or not, that's kind of what it is. The next point is when a man is taken advantage of, he actually blames himself for the incident, which leads to more isolation. Instead of saying, okay, this isn't my fault. This is, maybe I take some responsibility for something, but this incident of what happened to me is not my fault. A lot of men have a lot of trouble with this one. This one is one of you guys struggle with this one a lot. And I really encourage you to reflect on this one. Yes, we all make mistakes, but if something serious happens to you, I don't want to talk about too specific details, but there's a lot of stuff in this world, unfortunately, that happens to a lot of us. And no matter how you behave or how you react, there are certain things that no one deserves to be treated like, no matter what you do. And if you're taken advantage of, if you're hurt, if you're manipulated, if you're abused, no matter what, it's not that in of itself is not your fault. But men do this. It's my fault. What did I do wrong? Did I fail my marriage? Why did she cheat on me? Yes, let's just say a woman cheats on you, which is not healthy, and maybe she blames you and says, okay, it's because you didn't give her attention. And let's say you didn't give her attention. That is separate from the fact she cheated on you. Cheating on you is a choice. There are plenty of women who, maybe their husbands work a lot. That's fine. It happens. And maybe she's upset at him, but she's not going to cheat on him. What does that do? That just introduces more issues. You're wanting to resolve issues in the marriage, but now you're bringing somebody else. This is a character issue. This is not that's not your fault. And any sort of situation like that is really something I want you guys to reflect on. The next one is something that I think maybe a lot of people will not appreciate. I don't know if you guys know this. Maybe you've seen my profile, my Psychology Today profile, or whatever, my website. You guys probably know I specialize in anger management. So this one is specific to the way I treat anger. You might not agree with it, okay? A common expression for men is anger. I understand that anger has limits, okay? I understand that it's not really always the true emotion. But if that is what is in his tool set, I think he should be allowed to express it. That doesn't mean he punches a hole in the wall. I'm not saying that. But if that's what he has, sometimes we have to hear what's underneath his anger, even when he doesn't always know. I'm trying to explain this. Okay, let's just give another example and then we'll tie it back to anger. Let's say a woman is crying. This is a common expression that some women have, okay? A woman is crying about something and she's really sad. She's not really sure how to verbalize it. But we can automatically be like, oh, this woman is crying. Let's all calm down and try to reassure her. A lot of people know that automatically. But the opposite happens when a man's angry. We don't think, oh, I should have watched what I said. I may have fired him up there. You know what? Let me stay a little bit calm because clearly I may have pushed his buttons. We don't do that. We say, oh, scary man, he's angry. Let's blame him and I'll run away from him. That's not every angry man is going to hurt you. Sometimes he doesn't know what else to say. And take this with a grain of salt. I understand that anger can look different from certain people. I'm understanding. But I'm just saying a very normal, respectable gentleman, he kind of just lost himself for the moment, kind of got a little angry, raised his voice, like something very normal, I feel. That is the moment where a lot of us should indicate, oh, did I cross a line? Did I say something? Let me give him space or let me communicate an apology if that's what's necessary. I think that anger is so misunderstood, and I think it's because it's tied to masculinity. And I'm probably, if anyone's interested, I can make a specific video on that, but that's probably going to get really clinical and kind of boring. But these are some of the reasons why I think men are misunderstood. I hope this video is helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.